Gotta say, collectively, we owe the USA an apology. And when I say we, I mean the entire world. And that apology is needed purely because of how much judgment the world has thrown onto the US over the last few years. The American people are probably the most genuine, welcoming, humble people that I've ever met in my life. 100%, if you get the chance, go to the US and travel and see it for yourself. I promise you, you won't regret it.
When you first emigrated here from Greece, what was your impression of the pickup trucks that you saw everywhere?
I say it was so many of those in the roads. I say, all these stupid guys, why they drove this big thing? Just take a car.
You've been here for 11 years. How many pickup trucks have you owned?
4.
How many?
4.
And your latest one is?
Duly. I become one of them.
Does anybody in the USA want to adopt me as soon as possible? Because look at the price of an American house versus a British house. This is an average house in England. 400,000, 3 bedrooms, semi-detached. Look at it, it's nothing special. Then you have a look at the American houses for the same price. This is pretty much the exact same price, look at it. Detached, 4 bedrooms, and look at the size of that. If that house was in the UK, it would be worth millions. So why is it that Americans practically have palaces for houses? Every time I've seen an American on my For You page, they have got a mansion. They've got the stairs that, take up the whole hallway. It's luxurious. What are we doing in the UK? What are we doing? You can barely get a house here. You have to live in a cardboard box for your first house. Can't wrap my head around the fact that Americans are getting a house of that size and that look for 400,000.
That is the part nobody planned for. Because once people see a country with their own eyes, the story changes. The headlines stop mattering as much. The assumptions start to crack. And what replaces them is something far more dangerous to the old narrative: reality. This documentary is about that rupture, about how one of the biggest sporting events in the world became something bigger than football. A mass public test of what the world really believes about America. Before the tournament, many visitors arrived with a fixed image of the United States. They expected dysfunction, division, and decline. They expected a country they had already written off from afar. But travel has a way of disrupting certainty. When people actually land, walk the streets, enter the restaurants, sit in the stadiums, and talk to the locals, the distance between belief and experience becomes impossible to ignore. That is why the World Cup mattered so much. It did not just bring football to America, it brought witnesses. And witnesses are dangerous to propaganda because they are harder to argue with than headlines. The reactions came quickly. People were stunned by the scale of American cities, the size of the food, the variety in supermarkets, the endless lanes of highways, and the sheer ease of moving through spaces built for enormous crowds. For many European travelers, even simple things like air conditioning, parking, or open hospitality felt like a revelation. Some expected coldness and found warmth instead. Some expected chaos and found organization. Some expected a hollow spectacle and found crowds that were loud, passionate, and welcoming. None of that means America is perfect, but it does mean the picture people carried in their heads was incomplete. And that is where the documentary gets interesting. Because the question is not whether America has problems. Of course it does. The real question is why so many people believed they already understood the country before ever standing inside it. The World Cup created an unexpected kind of global reset.
Americans, I need to apologise to you. Before I came to this country, I believed everything negative I saw in the news. I saw things about how everyone was rude, how everyone tried to rip you off, and how people just genuinely don't get on. I have now been here over 2 weeks, and I can confirm that that is not the truth. Everyone has been so friendly to me. Everyone wants to talk to me, everyone's been giving me advice about my trip, and just genuinely being so helpful. American hospitality is definitely a real thing, guys, and I'm all here for it.
Sports tourism does more than fill hotels and stadiums. It changes the way nations are seen. It gives ordinary people access to places they might otherwise only know through politics, media, or stereotypes. And when that happens on a scale this large, perceptions can shift fast. This is where the U.S. economy, infrastructure, and hospitality all become part of the story. The experience of moving through the country, from cities to stadiums to restaurants to transit systems, becomes part of how visitors judge it. In that sense, the World Cup was not just a tournament, it was a public demonstration. And for future host nations, that matters. Because the event does not end when the final whistle blows. The after-image lasts much longer. The memories visitors take home become part of the country's global brand.
Dutch Football Association said that they were guessing about 5,000 to 10,000 people. I think there's way more people here.
This is more and more popular. There are all more people walking with us. All the Americans are walking with us. There are some Swedish people are walking with us. It's becomes very famous.
And who's going to win the match today?
Holland!
A lot of the conversation around America is framed as Europe versus America, but that comparison often misses the point. Every country has strengths, weaknesses, blind spots, and contradictions. What makes the US different is scale. Everything is bigger, louder, more spread out, more visible, and more politically charged. That creates the impression of excess, but it also creates a kind of spectacle that is hard to dismiss once you are standing inside it. For many visitors, the trip became a crash course in perspective. It is easy to form opinions from a screen. It is harder to hold on to them after living through the experience yourself. That is what made these reactions go viral. Not because they were exaggerated, but because they were honest. The lesson of the World Cup was never just about football. It was about what happens when millions of people stop relying on secondhand narratives and start seeing a place for themselves. It was about how travel can challenge assumptions faster than any debate. And it was about how a single event can expose the gap between a country's reputation and its reality. America was not judged from a distance this time. It was experienced. And for many visitors, that made all the difference. Because once the world arrived, the old story stopped being enough.